Welcome to Wednesday Night Fun with the SMRC eSports team. It's Duncan, Vincent and Andy Alston here, bringing you what we've waited for all the way since we had the Spring Cup, the Summer Cup and the Autumn Cup. We're now into the Winter Cup, and finally Knockhill Racing Circuit has arrived on iRacing. Scotland's National Motorsports Centre tonight hosts a clockwise Volkswagen Jetta race meeting for all the eSports racers in the SMRC. And well, you know, we have promised you for a while Knockhill was coming, and there is our calendar for the series. The Volkswagen Jetta will be round number one. Then we go to the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car on the 22nd of December. We have a break for Christmas, and on the 12th of January we're back with the Skip Barber Form 2000 car, and we finish with a Legends car on the 19th of January as well. So it's reverse direction, anti-clockwise in the second round, then clockwise, and again anti-clockwise on the 19th. This is going to be good fun, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on Sim Broadcast, live stream partner for your next sim racing event. And look at the weather, standard iRacing stuff. Things look pretty good, and we have got a bumper crowd at Knockhill tonight as well, something which we at the circuit haven't had too much of lately, but we're delighted it is back. Pete and Mo back at base. Andy Alston, we're about to go racing. How are you? It's been a long time.
No, I'm absolutely delighted to be back for this one. Very much looking forward to it. Knockhill has been a long time coming on iRacing, but I think they have done a fantastic job of bringing this circuit to the iRacing platform. It's a very, very impressive job overall. Really good fun to drive, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the drivers tackle the circuit in this Jetta car. It's something of a Marmite car, I think it's fair to say, among the iRacing community. I very much like it, I have to say. I think it's a good, fun car to drive. It's a free car when you sign up to iRacing. It can be a little bit temperamental in the corners. They can be prone to just hopping a little bit on exit. But yeah, I think this will be almost like a bit of a touring car-inspired event to get us underway here tonight.
I've just noticed on screen we have got Michael Weddle, and he did mention something about a livery to me, and he's got Flymo written down the side of that, and that's I'm going to say an in-joke, but just about everybody in the sim world knows why Michael Weddle's called Flymo, and it stems from his actual real racing. He spends a lot of time on the grass. Yeah, psychedelic colour schemes run rife through the Volkswagen Jetta paddock, it would seem. And Ronald Grossman here, who is just as crazy as Michael Weddle. Weddle's actually fastest just now, and we're 4 minutes 20 seconds into our qualifying. We should give Reese Motorsport Insurance a big shout out. Our broadcast partner, Sim Broadcast, have got their little logo on the screen, and there will be a Reese Motorsport Driver of the Day. So have your say in the Reese Motorsport Driver of the Day. That We've run that for quite some time now, Andy Alston. But we've also got Fraser Williamson, the Movano Sims Racer 369, currently in third place. Fraser come off the back of winning basically the season. We could say that he won. He stamped dominance all over the spring, summer and autumn cup. So let's see how he gets on at Knockhill. Now, I know a lot of guys have been putting in a lot of laps around Knockhill Racing Circuit. And I'm going to do a couple of special shout-outs because I keep my eyes on all things eSports that's going on, as you do, Andy. We need to give John Higgins a bit of a shout-out. He won a championship just recently, actually, did John Higgins, as somebody jumps into the gravel there. He won the BTCC League, and he just put in the gravel at the bottom of his dip there. So maybe we should stop giving people shout-outs because we're going to curse them. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We've also got Peter Mackay, car number 59. Peter in 16th place, ahead of car number 93 in 18th place, Mark Werrell. Now, they are two motorsport commentators who today have put the headsets down and picked up the steering wheels. Should they maybe just replace the steering wheel with the headset? We'll find out at the end of this, but we'll keep our eyes on the Mackay and Werrell battle. Mackay's got his eyes on Werrell because Werrell crashed into him after the checkered flag in a race. So those guys might have a bit of a to-do later on. But Michael Werrell still the fastest man just now on circuit with a 56.78 second lap from Fraser Williamson, 700ths of a second behind him, Ronald Grossman. Robert McGregor, who is inspired at Knockhill and threatening good things in Team MSR, the lead man in that squad just now. And he's ahead of Adam Brown and Knockhill's very own Scott Smith. Car number 82, Scott Smith. Met him at Knockhill today. He was working away in the garage, and he says he's up for this. He thinks he's P3 overall on outright pace. Andy, it's going to be good. There's a busy grid out here, and you have warned me that the start might be a little bit energetic, shall we say.
Yes, we'll be doing standing start here, and normally that's not such a bad thing, but we've got 29 cars out there on track at the moment, so it could be a very interesting couple of corners to get us underway here. I think these Jettas can take a little bit of time to get up to speed, certainly, but I think the first few corners are going to be rather eventful, particularly just coming out of Butchers and into the chicane. That seems to be the part of the track where lots of drivers, if they've perhaps not been round Knockhill previously, of course we've got a lot of drivers here who have, but it seems to be Butchers and into the chicane that just seems to just throw cars off the track. Some drivers have been speaking about the left-hand side of the chicane and just the curb there. It's got a bit of a tendency to throw you off and into the gravel trap, but hopefully we won't have too many incidents here in the Jetta. So a couple of minutes left to go in qualifying. Of course, drivers are allowed a maximum of 4 timed laps, Duncan. So just a couple of cars still out there to post a time.
Michael Ware was giving us an onboard lap in the fog, recorded a night or two ago in towards Duffy's Dip. Let's see how he gets on. A lot of curb through the top there, and then flat through the left-hander at the bottom. Bit of entry curb on the way into McIntyre's. A little bit of understeer through the corner as well. Now he should be flat all the way down through Butchers here. Bit of curb on the left and a lot of curb on the right through the chicane. Weddle knows how to go through there from his minis. And up the back straight he comes towards Clark Corner, hidden away in the fog there. It's a late apex over the top of the hill. Don't take too much care, but it throws you wide on the exit. And then it's all about just freeing the car up, trying to have a nice light grip on the steering wheel here. Let it drift in the middle of the road maybe. Don't stifle it towards that inside white line. Pick a braking marker, down the gears. The AIM looking dash on the Jetta's probably never looked so cool in its life. And up the straight he comes towards the flag here. Weddle, well, a 56.7 was the previous lap. We can see that on his dash. Michael Weddle does a 56.8, so his previous lap was faster, but that's an onboard lap of Knockhill, and that's how ferocious and quick this is going to be tonight, as we are 8 minutes 30 seconds in towards qualifying. It's still Weddle on top from Fraser Williamson, Ronald Grossman, Robert McGregor, and a lot of people in the pits, as you can see from our kind of pylon on the side shows the people who are still live. And Ronald Grossman, parks on track in that questionable livery. Clearly, these are self-made liveries that we're seeing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I would imagine nobody has paid money for one of these liveries as we go on board.
Yeah, that's...
we go into Duffy's Dip with Owen Ross, and he's now top of Duffy's here as he goes sideways into McIntyre. Now, we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of people trying to overdrive tonight as Owen Ross gets himself back on track, and we are into the last 40 seconds. Everybody completed their 4 times lap, so it looks like Andy Alston, Weddle is going to be on pole.
Certainly does. Owen Ross just putting on a bit of a show for us here because he won't improve on that time. Decides just to park up at the exit of Clark, so he will start from 25th. But yes, Michael Weddle starting this one from pole position, but look how close the gap is. The front 4 all in the 56s. I think we could be set for 3 very interesting races here. Really good pace throughout the field as well, but it is indeed Michael Weddle who will start this one from pole position.
The top 22 cars all covered by 1 second, which will be pretty exciting for us here. There's no real waiting about now. We're going to get these cars on the grid, and we're going racing. Weddle's on pole from Williamson with Grossman and McGregor, Adam Brown, Scott Smith, Michael Johnson, John Higgins, Jack Eyre, Ethan Gardner, Mark Heron, and James Warrior down there in 12th place.
And it's Tom Jones alongside Cameron Ritchie, Dami Kazar, Gaz Brown, John Duncan, Peter Mackay, Dale Smith, Mark Werrell in 20th, alongside Mark Chappell, Sean Dobie, Cameron Bryden, and James McIntosh in 24th.
Good to see the blimps back for us here as we get everybody else on towards the grid. Owen Ross, Dave Christie is here, Jonathan Glover, John Proctor, and Dave Bolton. Dave Christie, the Canberra media guru, down in 26th place. So he's got work to do in car number 64 as we see Flymo on pole position. The lights are coming on and away we go down towards Duffy's Dip for the first time of asking. We're racing finally at Knockhill Racing Circuit on iRacing with the SMRC, and Weddle is under pressure from Williamson straight away. Weddle will hold the position through Duffy's Dip as we get an aerial view here. Let's hope everybody gets through. Andy Alston predicted carnage or a riot, one of the two things, as everybody looks like they're almost getting through. Somebody's facing the wrong way halfway down the hill, and there's cars going everywhere through. Leslie's in the background. across the grass. You go towards the inside, but we're already going through the chicane and running wide up through the gravel trap. Goes Michael Weddle with pressure from Fraser Williamson in 3.69 as they come through Clark Corner for the first time of asking. Got to say, that's a pretty good first lap for Michael Weddle with a little gap over Fraser Williamson.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second is the gap from Weddle from Williamson. Weddle just getting away cleanly at the start there. Not a lot of wheel spin from the rear of the car. Ronald Grossman just further behind did well to keep the car on track after an earlier moment there, just coming on the exit of the chicane. But a couple of cars just tumbling down the order slightly. Michael Johnson down into 12th. Mark Werrell's dropped down. Cameron Bride and Cameron Ritchie's had a big moment, so he's really lost out on the opening lap. But Jack Eyre up 2 places. There he is, car number 13 with that chrome livery on the inside here, trying to make a move on Adam Brown. They go 3 wide into McIntyre's, and it's all gone horribly wrong there. But Jack Eyre still not done, side by side once more coming through the chicane. We did say it was touring cars. We've got one yellow car well off into the tyre wall as well. Looks like it's Michael Johnson, car 52. There he is. Manages to get the Jetta back up and running. But Michael Weddle still leading the way on the second lap of this race.
Well, that went a little bit ping-pong there for a few people, didn't it? That was very much, as you say, Andy Alston, the carnage come a lap after you predicted it, but it's definitely there. Michael Weddle out front, Williamson, Grossman, McGregor, Brown and Scott Smith. Please forgive us if our recognition of the cars is not as good as you would expect. This is the first time we've seen the cars on screen as well, so you've got to kind of bear with us. We're doing the best we possibly can here. As further down, Tom Jones in 9th place under huge pressure as they come in towards Duffy's Dip underneath them. But let's not talk about his sponsor on the side of that car there, because that's kind of a little bit of chuckle back in the production office, I would imagine. Dave Christie with a great start has got himself up to 16th, and forget that, he's plummeting down the order from the scoring chart. So Christie goes down to 20th, and I think that was possibly him who we saw spinning at Duffy's Dip as somebody else goes off going up the back straight. Car number 6, John Higgins, involved in this. That was Adam Brown, though. One of the fast guys for Rethink Racing in a pure white car, which is quite a strange one for Adam Brown, sporting a little bit of damage just above the back right wheel, and the back bumper looks like it's poking out just that little bit. These cars are quite susceptible to damage, so that's one thing the guys have got to watch. Andy, I was told that they can pick up 4Xs. You'll have to explain to us just what the damage model is.
So when drivers come into contact in iRacing, they get what is called a 4X. There's an incident point limit. Normally it's 16 points, and then when you get that, it's a drive-through penalty. So every time there's contact, both drivers, irrespective of whose fault it is, both drivers are normally awarded a 4X. If it's very light contact, then they can get away with it. They won't get a 4X penalty, but iRacing's penalty system doesn't apportion any blame whatsoever. So you do have to keep your car out of trouble, because before you know it, you've got a trip down the pit lane. But yeah, so that can be an added challenge that's thrown into the mix here as well. So if you do see someone slow down and pull off to the left on the start-finish line, chances are that's what it is. But back at the front, though, Fraser Williamson just putting a little bit of pressure here on Michael Weddle. Got a very good exit here as well. Fraser Williamson, of course, will be driving around this circuit in the real world next year in the SMRC Scottish C1 Cup after winning the eSports Championship, and he's just looking to put a bit of pressure here on Michael Weddle as we go into the 5th lap of this race.
One thing Michael Weddle is very used to is one make series driving around Knockhill Racing Circuit, and also having huge pressure for the majority of the race, as he does in the Mini Cooper Cup that he races at for the SMRC. He looks a little bit quicker than Fraser through the first couple of corners, but Fraser all over the back of him through the chicane. Then we've got Grossman going through with Robert McGregor. Then we've got Scott Smith in the number 82 car. That looks like he's got a bit of Red Bull sponsorship on that. He's been doing pretty well with that. Through Clark Corner behind him, he's got Junior behind him, the man who just picked up a BTCC championship on another platform of racing. So Junior doing very well, chasing down Scott Smith towards the hairpin. Then Jack Eyre and Adam Brown just off the back, 2 former teammates, or probably still are teammates actually. Jack Eyre in the chrome liveried Volkswagen Jetta. Shinier than shiny, but still Weddle under pressure. We can see it's 0.2 of a second is the gap at the front, and if Fraser with the fastest lap of the race now, putting the pressure in towards, in fact Adam Brown takes the fastest lap away just as it goes in, 56.64 for Adam Brown. Let's look a little bit further down in the pack just now as the leaders come down through Butchers. We want to try and pick up with Peter Mackay and the other commentator Mark Werrell. Mackay right now sits in 14th place, Werrell down in 21st place. Here's Peter Mackay coming through just now. Normally sits inside the Gary Stagg commentary tower at Knockhill Racing Circuit, but today sits inside his sim rig a la Volkswagen Jetta as he climbs up towards Clark's. Another former commentator, Dave Christie, who started low down, is now back in 25th position, so obviously a little bit of a moment for DC. But look at that at the front, Andy. Very much under pressure now. That says 3/10 of a second. It doesn't look like 3/10 of a second. Williamson to Weddle. And look at this, we change of position. Robert McGregor making moves on Ronald Grossman as they come over the crest of the hill. McGregor's on the inside, underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. This looks like it's job done. It is. Grossman decides to back out of that one. More to be lost trying to go side by side through Duffus Dip with Robert McGregor than probably gained.
Yeah, good sensible driving there from Ronald Grossman. I think he'll perhaps try and have a bite back round about the chicane. Just further back there, Tom Jones in the 1-2-4 car takes a big bit of curb there on entrance. That compromises him on the exit, and that's giving Danny Kazar a chance to perhaps make a move here. But back at the front, though, almost a change at the front there, Duncan. Michael Weddle going very defensive there as they make their way towards the hairpin. So Fraser Williamson beginning to gradually put more pressure on the number 7 car, leading the way in this race as we approach almost the halfway point of the opener. So it's still Weddle from Williamson, but it is Robert McGregor now currently rounding out the final step on the podium.
The tricky thing for Fraser Williamson is to make a manoeuvre at Knockhill. You put yourself, if you make the manoeuvre and it's a lunge, you put yourself at risk to get taken back straight away. It's going to have to be a calculated manoeuvre, and he's going to try and have to find a spot where Michael Weddle maybe isn't expecting it. But that's one thing for sure. Weddle's probably had everything thrown at him around here in his racing career. Great run so far for Robert McGregor as we pick up Danny Kazar coming down in number 21 car in 11th place, the very lurid purple car. Behind him, we've got James Warrior, then Mark Heron, Peter Mackay, Dale Smith, Jonathan Glover, Mark Chappell, Dave Bolton, et al. As they all come through and up the back straight towards Clark Corner. There's a manoeuvre. Kazar under a bit of pressure there as we are now on the exit of Clark Corner, and now we're back towards Clark Corner. These Jettas do seem to be handling Knockhill pretty well, actually. I like them bouncing over the curves, but side by side, Kazar under huge pressure from Mark Heron. Mark, who we've seen racing with us through every single cup we've had with the SMRC eSports, up the inside, makes the manoeuvre stick. But watch the cut back on the exit of the corner. Can Kazar get better speed through the corner? No, he can't, as we have a couple of cars. Was that one or two heading for the pit lane? Tom Jones. Well, that's unusual. Tom Jones goes into the pit lane mid-race. And is that for damage repairs, Andy? Is that such a thing that can happen as Weddle still comes through the chicane? Now look at Williamson all the way through those floppy bollards there. And quite a few folk hitting those bollards. They don't obviously fall out with the chicane. If that was the real word, they'd be sky high and scattered all over the track. Just now, we pick back up with Warrior as he goes through, and look at the touring car. If Gordon Shedden was watching this, he'd be proud of every single one of those guys, Andy, bouncing through the chicane right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing with this version of Knockhill is that iRacing have been quite generous with the track limits, because sometimes they can be quite strict, particularly on new circuits, but you can tell that the developers have done a lot of work and they've been watching a lot of racing around here at Knockhill to determine just where the drivers are putting their cars round about the various corners on track. So you can really push here, and I think this Jetta really lends itself to the circuit. As we see, we've got lots of cars taking all the curbs and then a little bit more, and particularly here into McIntyre's, I have to say, it's two wheels on the midway point of the corner, and here again you can really attack the chicane and take as much speed as you can with you up the hill. So it's been a really good version of Knockhill we have here on iRacing. Drivers all seem to enjoy it as well, and I think we've had a very interesting opener here into the bargain too. So Ronald Grossman still in 4th place, looking to put pressure on Robert McGregor and get his hands back onto 3rd place. But you've got Scott Smith, Jack here, Adam Brown and John Higgins all very, very close by and looking to make a move as well.
9 minutes in towards our first race. We're basically done, and if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen soon for Fraser Williamson, because under huge pressure is Michael Weddle. But as we've said at the top of the show, he knows how to defend around here. He knows how to race around here as they come in towards McIntyre's. A bit of not a manoeuvre, they're just catching up on the way in towards the corner was Williamson. And let's watch the onboard footage here as they go through chicane. In fact, we'll just disappear away for a minute as they come through and up the back straight. Very eeksy-peeksy stuff there. Nobody quicker as they come up towards Clark Corner. 10 minutes of the race now complete as they come through Little bit of gravel getting kicked up from Michael Weddle. He can feel the pressure. There's a back marker car ahead of him, so that will be playing on his mind as he comes round towards the hairpin. Williamson can see clear track now. Will he send this up the inside? Yes, here comes the manoeuvre. Williamson up the inside, gets back to the apex, and he will just wipe the nose as they come out of the hairpin and accelerate up the main straight towards the crest of the hill. A little bit of picture breakup for us there as we wait to see what happens. Williamson back into the lead. In fact, it's not Weddle who holds the lead. 1/10 of a second as they get back in towards Duffus. So he has made the manoeuvre. Williamson has shown his hand. Weddle has counteracted. Weddle basically got a better run through the exit of the hairpin and managed to keep that position, or take the position back, sorry, as he'll go up the straight. As once again, we go careering through the black circle chicane here at Knockhill and up the back straight there. A little bit of picture breakup, so it was all about watching the timing piler on the side there. A look at Williamson applying the pressure now as they come through Clark Corner. He's already shown his hand here. I would expect Weddle to just drift across into the middle of the road and possibly cover this line. But no, once again, Weddle just happy to sit there, content Andy Alston as he comes in, because he knows that if he makes that manoeuvre there, he will potentially drive past him on the next run up the straight as we go on board with Williamson. Well, he has shown his hand, Andy Alston. Has he shown his hand too early?
Well, Michael's doing a very good job of defending that position, particularly around the first part of the lap, but he has run wide at Clark's 2 laps in a row, and Fraser Williamson will sense that, and that's where he's really going to start to pile on the pressure here. He's quite content just to sit back and follow in the slipstream of Weddle here. But watch what happens next after they come through the chicane here. Big helping of curb there. Weddle now goes wide on the exit of the chicane.
That's
so
it.
Williamson goes side by side into Clark. Will Williamson make this move stick? Side by side, they go on the exit. Weddle goes wide again, just managing to fight off Williamson once more. Michael Weddle is not giving this one up just yet. We have got a back marker just getting well out the way here to allow the 2 leaders to scrap once more, but that has compromised Williamson this time round, so Weddle will once more hold on to the lead of this race.
Still Robert McGregor in third place ahead of Ronald Grossman, Jack Ayre, Scott Smith and John Higgins Jr. in the very bright green car. I tell you, Andy, one of the places he hasn't tried yet, McIntyre's turn 3. It's a manoeuvre where it's going to be a block pass, and it's possibly the only place where he can stop Weddle having a manoeuvre back on the exit if he can park the car on the apex. Williamson will have to kind of juggle that thought in his mind right now as we come down through Butchers. The last time, well, it was a mistake from Weddle here. He bounced himself through the chicane, bounced himself wide, and that let Fraser Williamson get alongside. But McGregor still holds a fabulous third place ahead of Ronald Grossman, and he's got enough time in his pocket there not to have to worry too much. But Jack Ayre is the worry for Ronald Grossman as they go in towards Clark Corner. But our leaders come back round towards the hairpin. 13 minutes of this race gone. Here comes Williamson again up the inside, just fainting to the inside there. Hopefully hoping Weddle will go and cover that so you can get a better run through the hairpin as they come back up now. We go on board, and Weddle just pulling a couple of inches up the hill there as they go over the crest underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge to chalk off another lap 15 of the race. And let's stay on board here as you go through the top of Duffus Dip. The attempt needs to start now. He needs to think about up the inside. Here he goes, he's round the outside, but he doesn't want to put the car up the inside too much. Weddle left room there. Weddle could see that the manoeuvre was coming. He didn't want to have any contact going in. And great racing for both these guys going through there. Weddle again a bit aggressive through the chicane, and Williamson looks quicker through the chicane. Can he try the famous block pass into Clark's? No, he's just applying the amount of pressure Michael Weddle does not want. Williamson is trying to see if Weddle will crack under this pressure. As we're now 14 minutes into this race, this will possibly be, Andy, us going on to our last lap.
Yes, it will be. And this is the moment now where Fraser Williamson really has to get a move on if he wants to win this race. He's got a very good run out the exit, the hairpin here. But look at Michael Weddle just parking the orange car in the middle of the track here. And by doing that, he's forcing Williamson out wide here. So Weddle got the inside line, but he's got a good gap there as well into the bargain. So Michael Weddle will hold on to first place at the moment. But this is the chance here potentially for Williamson. If he decides to dart up the inside, he did try to do it, but Michael Weddle parking the car on apex, and he is still in the lead of this race.
Yeah, Weddle saw that one coming. He's had that done to himself so many times during a race. As Scott Smith has Jack Ayre underneath him, down through Butchers. These two guys managing to not have any contact. Scotty boy, great manoeuvre from him to get himself ahead of Jack Ayre up into 5th place just now. The leaders are on the exit of Clark's run to the hairpin. Here we go. This is it. There's a manoeuvre from Williamson. He's trying to get alongside on the braking zone. He has. What has Weddle got in the bag of tricks to come back as they come through the hairpin? Side by side, Williamson takes lead, but there's a drag race towards the line. It's not done yet. Williamson in the lead, but here comes Weddle. Weddle catching. Weddle takes it back as they go over the crest off the hill. And it is Michael Weddle who wins by 18 hundredths of a second from Fraser Williamson. Robert McGregor takes third place. Ronald Grossman takes fourth. Scott Smith, Jack Eyre, John Higgins Jr. with Adam Brown. Jack Eyre actually pitted. Did he pit or was he forced into the pit lane? That's maybe what we need to find out there. Adam Brown, Ethan Gardner and Mark Heron round out the top 10. But what happened to Jack Eyre here? He chose to pit. Yep, it was Jack Eyre who chose to pit, which is slightly strange. He did kind of cross the line, though, because the checkered flag is at the pit entrance there. But what a race here. Michael Weddle takes victory in the Winter Cup for race number 1 here. And the SMRC eSports brought to you by Sim Broadcast, your live partner for your streaming event. And the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. Well, Michael Weddle, I would imagine, would have one tick in that box, Andy Alston. What a fabulous race from Fraser Williamson. The amount of pressure, the very little contact, if any, of those guys had. Well, there's no time to waste. We're straight into race number 2, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Great bit of defensive driving from Michael Weddle. But he knows what Williamson's going to do now. Williamson will make the move towards the hairpin. So if he just decides to take a narrow line in there, he can cover off that potential opportunity. Because what we are seeing is it's quite difficult to try and get a cut back on the exit of the chicane with these cars. It's all about trying to take as much momentum with you as possible down the start-finish straight. So Weddle will be delighted with that start, but Fraser Williamson, I'm sure, will be looking to make amends in the second race. But Robert McGregor, Ronald Grossman, Scott Smith, 3 drivers that had 3 very impressive openers as well. So one's definitely worth keeping an eye on here for race number 2.
As the cars lining up on the grid just now, I still think that the manoeuvre into McIntyre's is very much on. The block pass into McIntyre's will have to be done by one of these guys at the front sooner or later. Green lights are coming on. We've got a full complement and away we go. It's a cracking start from Weddle. Terrible start from Williamson. And it looks like Robert McGregor already leapfrogs into second place. And Robert McGregor will put Fraser Williamson down into third. Let's see how long that stays like that. And let's hope everybody can get through and behave. All the Volkswagen Jettas funnel through the top of toughest dip. Leslie's and off goes the Pink Warrior in the background at unabated speed in towards the rallycross track there. And that will be his race very much done. As through the chicane, a little bit of contact on the way in. And who's the white car? Is that Adam Brown? Adam Brown off on the way through. There was a little tap into the back bumper of him just going through the first part of the chicane. And the black circle chicane bites another driver as he manages to rejoin going in towards Clark's. But Weddle with the biggest gap we've seen from anybody at the front just now, ahead of Robert McGregor and Fraser Williamson. Fraser knows that he cannot stay behind Robert McGregor. He must get through, or Michael Weddle will make hay while the sun shines here at Knockhill in the iRacing, and he will pull away. John Higgins, Scott Smith, Ronald Grossman, Mark Heron, Ethan Gardner, Danny Cassar and Tom Jones run out the top 10 after lap 1, Andy.
Relatively incident-free opener there as well. Only Mark Weddle who's really gone tumbling down the order. So good bit of clean racing here to get us going for the second one of the night. But Robert McGregor, he'll be delighted with that. It was a tremendous start that he got there. But of course, that is music to the ears of Michael Weddle because he has a 7/10 of a second gap into the bargain. So that'll be an interesting one to follow at the front. But a couple of drivers as well just worth keeping an eye on here. One of them being Sean Dobie in the 159, who has lost out 3 places from where he started. He was in 19th, finds himself in 22nd. Sean's a driver with plenty of pace, so he'll be keen to put the pressure on. Cameron Ritchie as well in 25th. Started this one down in 22nd, so another driver who knows this track well, very experienced in iRacing, and will be looking to make his way up the order.
Sean, yes sir, I can boogie, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right in saying that his paint job we had one of the times before? Certainly somebody had that. Sean Dobie, I think, was the man as they come in towards Duffus Dip just now. I think that was Mark Weddle that we saw exiting stage right down the bottom of Duffus Dip on lap number 1, 12th position, lost for poor Mark. And I think there's a key missing off the sponsor on that car just going through our shot just now of Tom Jones. As they come through the chicane, Yeah, 7/10 of a second. It's now up to 8/10 of a second, but fair play, credit to Robert McGregor. He really is showing some of the pace and skill that we've seen, and we've known has been there for Robert, but it's just never actually come to the fore, as Williamson now goes to the left-hand side in towards the hairpin, and all this is doing for Michael Weddle is making him chuckle as he looks in the rearview mirror. Because with these guys battling each other, it really does slow them down. McGregor, in fact, look at that. That's John Higgins Jr. slides up the inside of Fraser Williamson, and it's side by side up the main straight here. Nothing worse when you're in the actual car. You can look over and see your racing driver counterpart there, and that's going to be Higgins' position, I would imagine, in towards Duffy's dip. But Williamson tries to go side by side over the top. Scott Smith gets a grandstand view of this. Higgins sends it up the inside into McIntyre's. It needs to be a block pass here. Let's try not to have side-to-side contact. Williamson out into the gravel trap. Good pass from John Higgins Jr. And watch Scott Smith try and take and carry that momentum through chicane, but no, a little bit too much curb for Scott there. And John Higgins Jr. deposits Fraser Williamson off the podium. I didn't expect to be saying that, Andy.
Yeah, Scott Smith, had he got that chicane right there, I suspect Scott Smith would have thrown that car up the inside into Clark Corner as well. So Fraser Williamson down into fourth, but back into third though, because look at that, he has managed to make the move onto John Higgins Jr. into the chicane, into the hairpin. So there he is. There's the green car of John Higgins on the outside, Williamson on the inside, but he has got a little bit of a gap. But it's the red car 82 of Scott Smith we want to keep an eye on here as well, because Scott Smith could potentially throw that car up the inside. He does momentarily and then thinks better of it. So they go in to the Duffus dip section of the track, then into McIntyre's, and it's Williamson from Higgins, Scott Smith in fifth place, but Michael Weddle now has a gap of 1.3 seconds at the front of the pack.
I was asking Scott Smith what his sim rig's like. He was telling me I've got a little plastic steering wheel and pedals, a deck chair and a coffee table, Duncan. It's a bit of a nightmare compared to what I'm up against with these other guys. So credit to number 82, Scott Smith, just now punching way above his sim rig weight as he's in fifth place, a top five finish. He's looking at John Higgins Jr. in towards Apin. Jr.'s going to have his wits about him just now. And I've got to say, Fraser Williamson, well, he's just seen Michael Weddle disappear up the road. He knows how fast Weddle is, and that gap that Weddle has got at the front is going to be very, very difficult for Williamson to get back down. He's still going to try and get past the flying MSR Racing Robert McGregor, first of all, in 117. Ethan Gardner in number 86, currently in 7th place just now. The car just ahead of Tom Jones, and Ethan Gardner's looks very much like a daily driver just now. Not much in the way of a paint job on that one, but it looks pretty much stealth under the radar. There's a huge bit of curb for Tom Jones there. That's going to bite him in the backside a little bit, or his sponsor, I should say, as they go up towards chicane. But still, Scott Smith applying the pressure here to John Higgins Jr. Jr. will feel that pressure. He'll see Scott behind him. And let's see exactly what's going to happen here as they come round towards the hairpin. Scotty Smith in the number 82 Red Bull backed car, charging into the hairpin from John Higgins Jr. John Higgins Jr. in the green car. Andy Alston, good colour schemes. We're actually picking him up now as we go along into this race. But Williamson now ahead of Robert McGregor.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, Scott Smith is now a front runner for driver of the day. If that is his sim rig setup, that is absolutely tremendous. Very, very impressive stuff. He's had a very good race here, a good event overall, I should say, as the 82 car. So Scott will be fancying his chances for a podium, I suspect. Just further back here, we've got Mark Herron in the yellow car on the outside into McIntyre, so he will just have to surrender the position there to the white car of Adam Brown into 10th place. So we've got Peter Mackay there, just reeling both of them in there as well, just coming into the exit of the chicane. So good bit of action here all the way through the field, but Weddle still leading the way with a gap now of 1.7 seconds. Fraser Williamson back into second place, but he's got Robert McGregor putting him under all sorts of pressure here as well. So there is the orange car of Weddle leading the way as they come out of the hairpin. It's Williamson in second, McGregor in third, but then look at that, you've got John Higgins Jr. and Scott Smith both very, very close behind as well as we approach the midway point of this race. So it's been a pretty straightforward event so far for Michael Weddle. He's not had too much to trouble him so far, but as we know, Duncan, anything can happen on iRacing and in our SMRC events, and yes, I suspect we could see a number of drivers still making moves between now and the end of this race.
Peter Mackay slides his Hellman's backed car ahead of Mark Herron on the main straight there to take that position. But it's game on at the front. It's 1.2 seconds the lead that Michael Weddle has over Fraser Williamson. The number 7 Flymo backed car over 3.69. The Movano Sims Racer, 1.3 seconds. Let's keep our eye on that gap and remember that number. Then we've got Robert McGregor, John Higgins, Scott Smith. Those two guys still very much joined together. Behind that, we've got Ronald Grossman, Tom Jones, Ethan Gardner, Danny Cassar and Adam Brown running out the top 10. The battle we're looking at here, Mark Hearn, as he chases Peter Mackay. Peter will be delighted with his 11th place. If he can get a top 10, even better. But let's see how that unfolds. Further down, we did see Dave Christie on screen just for a quick second. Don't know if you noticed that. Oh, and that's John Higgins Jr. Is John Higgins Jr. retiring at the top of Duffy's Dip? What's happened to Jr.? What could possibly go wrong here? Could that be a possible engine issue, a down change too many, or side-to-side contact? Andy, difficult to see. Everything looked like it was pointing in the right direction.
Could well even perhaps technical problem, Duncan. He might have an issue with his setup in some way, shape or form, and that is really bad news for John Higgins Jr. because he's had a very impressive race here. So, of course, the third and final race of the evening would have been that reverse grid, but he's going to start well down the order, unfortunately for him. But I've just been keeping my eye on the timesheets, Duncan, here, because Fraser Williamson was 0.3 of a second quicker than Michael Weddle on the last lap, and I reckon we've got about 5 or 6 laps left in this race. So if Williamson can continue to put the fast laps in here, that could put Weddle under all sorts of pressure.
And Weddle's got traffic. Weddle's got traffic ahead of him. In fact, the traffic's disappeared. He's lucky there because he was catching that back marker just over the apex of Duffy's Dip, and that would have been playing on his mind. You're right, Andy. The gap was 1.3 seconds. It's now down to 1.1 seconds. So bit of contact with Fraser Williamson, apparently, according to John Higgins Jr. there, just sent a message through. So contact with that, and it's something's not very good. He's been disqualified, so that's quite a strange thing. I don't know if that happens a lot in iRacing. But John Higgins Jr. parks that at the side off the road. It's Weddle, Williamson, and Scott Smith now goes into third place in his number 82 car. Well, he did say to me, I've got pace for the top 3, Donkey. I'm going to do it as Tom Jones was sending a manoeuvre up the inside of Ronald Grossman there. But Grossman manages to hold that position in his psychedelic Jetta for one more time. Scott Smith and Robert McGregor glued together. Well, Robert has just managed to get back ahead, Andy, on that run. But this is looking a bit fighty here. This could go either way. Tom Jones doesn't want to be behind Ronald Grossman for much longer, but he's got to watch because he's got Ethan Gardner right behind him. And then they've got Danny Cassar as well. A good 4-car battle down the bottom of Butchers just now.
A good bit of defensive driving there from Tom Jones. Of course, started this one in 12th, so he's had a very impressive second race here this evening. But lots of cars looking lively as well there behind him. The 86 car in particular of Ethan Gardner is really piling on the pressure. But the trouble he has, of course, is that Danny Cassar and Adam Brown are putting Ethan under pressure. So it's been a very interesting tactical race here with under 5 minutes left to go here. But look at that, the 21 of Danny Cassar goes very, very wide there into the hairpin. That allows Adam Brown to just dive up the inside and take 8th place in this race. They go side by side. In fact, they're almost both going into the pits there. It looks like Adam Brown's going into the pit stop because he will have a slowdown penalty as a result, I suspect. And that's what he'll be looking to serve there just now. And there indeed he is. He doesn't pull that car into the pit box. It's a drive-through penalty for him, unfortunately. So he goes tumbling well down the order. But back at the front, though, look at that gap, Duncan. It's now 0.5 of a second between Weddle and Williamson. But there's all sorts of drama further behind. Ronald Grossman is involved. He has had to take evasive action. Peter Mackay in the 59 is up into 8th place in this race. There he is there, coming under all sorts of pressure from Mark Heron in the 91. We've got Grossman off again on the exit there of the chicane. They go side by side out to Clark's, but Grossman holding on to the position from Peter Mackay with Mark Heron in the 91 now really beginning to reel in the cars ahead of him. So all kicking off around the chicane section of the track, Duncan, but looks like Ronald Grossman's managed to come through unscathed. And back at the front, it is still 0.5 of a second now between Weddle and Williamson. A few moments ago, Michael Weddle would have thought he had this race all done and dusted, but Fraser Williamson is now very much in contention to take the win here.
Well, he's still got to get past Michael Weddle, and we've seen that it's not an easy thing to do. He tried it 2 or 3 times before, but he's going to have to pick his spot and be clinical about this. 11 minutes of the race gone, 15-minute race here at Knockhill Racing Circuit for race number 2 in the Winter Cup for the SMRC eSports. Weddle against Williamson. It's 1-0 Weddell. Can Williamson equal this one with another? Well, can he get an own goal? What's going to happen here? Williamson needs to make the manoeuvre count and stick straight away as he comes through the hairpin. I still think, Andy, I'm going to say it's McIntyre's. It's the block pass at McIntyre's. He needs to not wait until the last lap. Michael Weddell has been here so many times before in the real world that he's been mugged on the last lap, or he's done the mugging on the last lap. Very important to make this manoeuvre stick and count straight away. Half a second, well, he's now down to 0.3 of a second. It was 1.3 seconds. So Fraser Williamson, the man who won the overall championship, as we go back on with Scott Smith now and Robert McGregor. Scott Smith on board the red number 82, chases Robert McGregor, easy for me to say, down through McIntyre's and Butcher's. We've seen the on-board lap going through there. We've also been on board with Williamson in the last race. When you're that close to a car you cannot see going through the chicane, you're basically using muscle memory to try and remember where the car turns to go through that corner. But through we come. We're hearing that John Higgins was disqualified. He was told to pit by iRacing after having side-to-side contact with Fraser. He decided not to pit. That's why he was disqualified. So that's a bit controversial for John Higgins Jr. as Adam Brown there has a look, contact into the back of Michael Johnston. Johnston manages to hold that. The diesel Jetta gets all sideways and lit up. But Adam Brown there, and this is a recovery drive from Adam, if I'm not mistaken, Andy, because of the chicane on lap number 1.
Yes, absolutely. Adam Brown started this one in 7th place, so it's he's well out of position. But just going back to John Higgins Jr. and the incident that he had, if iRacing determines that you have too much damage, it will force you essentially to pit for repairs. If you choose not to do that, then you will be issued with the black flag and be disqualified from the race. So the car might feel fine to you behind the wheel to all intents and purposes, but if iRacing feels that you've got too much damage, then you've got to pull that car in. So unfortunately, that is the reason why John Higgins Jr. has been disqualified from this race. So Junior's got it all to do now in the final race coming up in a few moments' time. This will, however, be the last lap for race number 2. Weddell still leading the way from Fraser Williamson. That gap is just tumbling down to 0.2 of a second now, though, Duncan. So it's about time that Fraser Williamson makes a move now. He's been reeling Weddell in, but he's not been able to really make a substantial overtaking move yet. Will he be able to do it into McIntyre's just too far back here, I suspect? So it could all come down to the final corner of this race.
Well, he's tried it before, and then he's been done on the drag race up the hill. Can he get a better run through the chicane and have a manoeuvre in towards Clark's? Fraser's not silly. He won't put himself at risk to lose too much drive. He's going to keep it tight through Clark's, and it's all going to come down to the hairpin. Michael Weddell, I would imagine, will sit his car in the middle of the road, as we're just seeing now. And while he cover this off, there is a manoeuvre that can be made here. It's a very late one on the brakes. Here goes Williamson up there and say Weddell covers it off as they go in, though. And that, I believe, will be all she wrote as they come through the corner. The checker flag is made ready. Michael Weddell is going to make it 2 out of 2 here at Knockhill in the Winter Cup. Fraser Williamson comes home for a good recovery drive into second place, 0.3 of a second behind. And then it's Robert McGregor and Scott Smith still fighting it out as they come up towards the line. Can Scott Smith get it? No, he can't. McGregor holds it from Scott Smith with Tom Jones in 5th place, Danny Cassar, Ronald Grossman down in 7th. What a drive for Peter Mackay to come home in 8th place. That will feel like he's just won the Rolex 24 for Peter Mackay to come home in 8th place. He will be delighted with that one. Mark Heron in 9th place, and Jack Eyre, the Rethink Racing driver, comes back home in 10th place. 10th place for Jack Eyre. I can't believe we're saying that. That's something that we're not, Andy, used to talking about.
Absolutely, but of course he started this one in 20th place, so credit to Jack there for a good drive through the midfield, but unfortunately he's just missing out on pole for the reverse grid, so it will be Peter Mackay in P8 who will start the final race here this evening from pole position, and he will have Ronald Grossman alongside of him, so that will be very interesting to see how things unfold in the last race in a few moments' time.
Pole for Mackay. Well, there we go. We will be back in just a minute or two. We have a short break before the actual final round itself. But Michael Weddell, Fraser Williamson and Robert McGregor, your top 3 there. Rethink Racing, SRC Movano Course and MSR, the top 3 drivers' teams. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back in a couple of minutes with more live action from the SMRC eSports Winter Cup, brought to you by Sim Broadcast, live stream partner for your next sim racing event, and Reese Motorsport Insurance. Back in a minute. Welcome back after our quick commercial break, a little drink of water, and a bit of off-chat between myself and Andy Alston to find out who we think will be the Reese Motorsport driver of the day. Reese Motorsport Insurance backing the series, and here we go. This is the final. Peter Mackay finds himself on pole position, and that will be an unusual feeling for Peter Mackay. He's normally a sim commentator, and he's a Knockhill commentator as well for many of our events. How is this going to go? There is the previous results for you. Michael Weddle, Fraser Williamson and Robert McGregor, the top three. Great going from Robert McGregor and from Scott Smith to come home in fourth with his plastic steering wheel and pedals, deck chair and coffee table. Tom Jones in fifth place, Danny Cassar, Ronald Grossman, Peter Mackay, who starts in pole position on eighth place, and Mark Heron and Jack Eyre, who I said we're not used to having him down there, and Andy thankfully corrected him and said, well, he did start in 20th, Duncan, so that's a pretty good result, and it was. We haven't seen much in the way of carnage and damage, which we expected. Andy was waxing lyrical about how this was going to be carnage at the first corner, but Andy, everybody has been extremely well behaved and respectful of one another.
I've got one more race to go, I suppose, though. Yeah, it has. It's been good. Yeah, definitely. I think the Jettas, honestly, I think it's really lended itself nicely to this track. I think the action's been really good. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, next week we have the Mazda MX-5s, which is a car that I'd say pretty much most people, when they start in iRacing, it's one of the first cars that go behind the wheel in. So it'll be very interesting to see how the drivers tackle that one. Of course, on the anti-clockwise configuration as well.
So here we go. Peter Mackay is on pole position, as we told you. We've told you quite a few times, because I think I'm not going to take this away from anything you've done, Peter, but I'm quite shocked. I'm surprised, and I'm actually very proud as well. Let's see how he gets on. He was expecting a couple of little choice digs, as was Mark Weddle, but Mark hasn't featured quite as well as Peter. On come the lights, full complement of lights, and away we go for the final. And it's a good start from the front row. Mackay will lead in towards Duffus Dip for the first time. He'll hold off Ronald Grossman, Danny Cassar, Tom Jones, and everybody else. Now, let's see what happens as they come down through Leslie's, named after the late, great David Leslie, and into McIntyre's. It's Mackay, 59, who leads the way. Everybody else manages to get through a little bit of grass on the way in for somebody there. But thankfully, there's nothing too crazy in the mid-pack like Adam Brown last time. And wow, yeah, exactly, in my ears. Everybody's made it through in one piece. And Mackay leads through Clark's from Ronald Grossman. A little bit wide there for Danny Cassar as they come through next to the Clarks, but Peter Mackay leads towards the hairpin. Scott Smith in trouble at Clark Corner. Is that damage on that car, Andy Alston?
Certainly looks that way. The car does not look happy at all, and he's having to take a long time to get back onto the track because of the stream of cars making their way past. But Peter Mackay still leading this race. 0.2 of a second is the gap between him and Ronald Grossman, with Tom Jones currently rounding out the top step of the podium. But Robert McGregor coming under a little bit of pressure here from Michael Weddle. Weddle has the inside line here, but just not quite close enough to make a move into Duffus. So Fraser Williamson, all the meanwhile, as we ride on board with him, currently in 7th place and just watching the drama unfold in front of him. But look at that, there's a stream of cars all making their way up the hill now and into the chicane. Williamson taking a big helping of the curb on the exit as well. That's given him a good run here actually into Clark's, but just not quite enough to make a move. But yeah, a little bit of drama throughout this race. We've got Dale Smith just gone tumbling down the order there. You'll see that on the left-hand side of your screen. Dave Christie also lost out a couple of places just further back there as a result. Also, Fraser Williamson there perhaps throwing the car up the inside into the chicane. There is the move on Weddle. Williamson on the inside here. Weddle's got a good run on the exit and using all the curb there as well to really get the power down. Side by side they go, and they've got 5 cars ahead of the pair of them looking to make moves into Duffus as well. Tom Jones there, not quite. In fact, he does throw the car on the inside momentarily, but Ronald Grossman has that one covered. So Weddle still leading the way ahead of Williamson, but Peter Mackay in the third lap of this race still leading the race. But there is a little bit of contact there between Robert McGregor and Danny Cassar. Cassar's just coming off Worcester there, and he's not been able to get the car back on track, so he has to take the long way round there in the chicane, so he will go tumbling down the order. Mackay, though, still leading the way in this race.
Great stuff from Peter Mackay at the front under huge pressure from Ronald Grossman. Mackay, I've got to say this, he won't mind. He is the cork in the bottle just now. Everybody lined up behind him. Guns a-blazing. Here comes Tom Jones up the inside of Ronald Grossman. And Peter is just putting his car in the correct places. He's getting good drive at the corners and everybody fanning out behind him, trying to do something. We saw the contact with Robert McGregor and Danny Cassar at McIntyre's just a lap ago. Here comes McGregor up the inside to try and make it 3 wide in towards Duffus. That's not going to work. He touches the back bumper of Tom Jones and Fraser Williamson dives underneath Robert McGregor. There's contact. Weddle gets taken out by the spinning Robert McGregor. No fault of Michael Weddle there. That was just wrong place at wrong time for Michael Weddle. And off he goes. Williamson managed to get away with that one, but also Robert McGregor well out of this one now as they recover from where they're lying, wherever it is at the bottom of Duffus Dip, Leslie's area. But Mackay still leads from Grossman and Jones as they come round towards the hairpin. I can almost feel the sweat building on Peter Mackay's hand as he comes in towards the hairpin, because this will be doing his confidence a huge amount of good. As we come through the hairpin with 3 minutes of this race gone, we've seen what we predicted. Andy Alston predicted a bit of a riot and a bit of contact a good few times, but it didn't happen. We see it here. Now, was that just Robert losing it all on his own? We need to pick that up a little bit earlier. I don't think there was contact with Williamson, but then he comes back across, collects the side of Flymo, off goes Flymo, and well, thankfully, it didn't pick up Fraser Williamson as well, but we need to see that replay from just a little bit earlier, possibly from the blimp cam if we can. Guys back at base will be working pretty hard on that for us just now as Mackay leads in towards Clark Corner, and this, Andy Alston, is a superb final race of the day.
Absolutely is, and as the cars behind Mackay are continuing to scrap here, Peter's just able to focus on apexes and exits here. You know, he's managing just to maintain that gap. He's got the inside line here into the hairpin, but in fact, there was just a little bit of contact there between him and Ronald Grossman. Further contact from Tom Jones, and off goes Mackay. Peter Mackay's just been sent off the track, and he goes tumbling down the order, unfortunately, after such a strong race there. He's just gone well down the order, unfortunately. So Ronald Grossman now leading the way from Fraser Williamson in second place.
Let's see the replay. Yep. Tom Jones into the back quarter and spins, very reminiscent of Colin McRae spinning out Matt Neal at the hairpin all those years ago, 1992 British Touring Car Championship. And I can imagine that Peter Mackay will be absolutely livid inside that number 59 Hellman's Mayonnaise backed car. He is 9th place just now on the recovery drive, but he was showing so well. And it's Ronald Grossman, a man who we haven't seen at the front for quite some time. He did show a little bit of good promise in the Formula Renault 2-litre car, but let's see how long he can hold off the hard-charging Movano Sims racer Fraser Williamson as they come through the hairpin. Let's look further down. Oh, look, on the back of the group, it's the orange car in 6th place. It's Michael Weddle. Is there life in the old dog yet? There's still 10 minutes of this race to go. Weddle, by all accounts, could very much get back in here. He's trying to get Mark Heron as they go over the top of Duffus. Keep it on this camera just now. Let's see if he makes a manoeuvre in towards McIntyre's. He knows exactly what to do here. But no, everybody's so fast through that series of corners. And one thing about the Knockhill from Duffus Dip to Chicane, one corner leads into the next corner. Obviously, the quickest way is to link all those corners together. But if you do break the flow and throw the car up, then say as Weddle's about to do here, you have to do it with absolute precision. And Weddle back there with that one there as we are on board with that blimp cam. Andy, as you know, I do like the blimp cam. I'm a bit of a fan of that one.
Yeah. Of the action.
Nope, losing Andy a little bit there. He'll come back in a minute.
Man out there on track. There we go. Sorry, apologies about that, but I'm just saying there that Fraser Williamson has gone. He's put the fastest lap of the race on board last time out. He was 0.6 of a second quicker than Ronald Grossman, so we could well have a change at the front very soon as we approach the midway point of this race. So Williamson there in the 369 car still not able to find a way through just yet. Ethan Gardner finds himself in 3rd place after starting this one in 11th, so it's been an excellent drive for the 86 car. Tom Jones currently in 4th place as well. Just further back there's John Higgins Jr. on the recovery drive because he started well down the order. Of course, he was well towards the back of the pack, and he is
plus 19
in a very strong position.
Plus 19 for John Higgins Jr. That's a drive and a half to come from last up to where he is just now. He'll be happy with that one. Well, he won't be happy actually because he started from the back. He should have been starting right up at the front as he's making a manoeuvre there on David Bolton, Danny Cassar for those positions, and more side-to-side contact as we leave the hairpin. That's Mark Heron getting involved with Ethan Gardner and Michael Weddle. Watches on Weddle just drives up and alongside past Mark Heron, who I believe is a teammate to Peter Mackay, or they've just picked up the same Hellman's Mayonnaise backing for the Winter Series. I really don't know what they're up to. But in towards McIntyre's Ronald Grossman under pressure and coping with it really well. Ronald Grossman has got Fraser Williamson all over the back of him, but Grossman managing to put his experience at iRacing, one of the administrators for what we do here with the SMRC, he's putting all his knowledge to play. Williamson, no, I've got a feeling he will be noticing in the background that the orange Flymo car, and he is homing in. So we want to get this move done pretty quickly. What a recovery drive from Michael Weddle after getting taken off by Robert McGregor, who is currently in 22nd place. McGregor, unfortunately, lost it going in towards Duffy's Dip. Round she went. And Andy Alston, the recovery drive for Weddle has got him up to 4th place. Side-by-side contact, exit Clark. What's going on there? James McIntosh and a few other people involved in that one. That was just a good Scottish word would be a shamash there. And there'll be penalties heading the way of both those drivers, and they'll also be getting, I would imagine, drive-through penalties for that one, Andy.
Further drama as well, because off goes Ronald Grossman, unfortunately, from the front of this race. And Michael Weddle now in 2nd place in this race. We've got Williamson and Weddle once more leading the way here. This has been a frantic finish to this one here tonight. But Williamson now finally finds himself in the lead of this race, but he's got Michael Weddle to contend with in 2nd place. Ronald Grossman's just dropped back ever so slightly after that moment around McIntyre and Butchers. So let's get a look at the replay and see what happened here.
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones, I think, has just collected Grossman there, taking a little bit too much curb on exit of the corner, and not a lot Grossman can do. And there he is. You just see at the end of your screen, just making his way into the pit lane. He will have received the meatball flag and been told to pit by iRacing. Unfortunately for him, it's been a good race and a good event for Grossman, and unfortunately for him, he was 4th and 7th so far, and it was looking good for a win at one point, but it's now this man, Fraser Williamson, who leads the way in this race.
I can't quite believe who I'm seeing is nestled under the rear bumper right now of Fraser Williamson. How has this happened? About 5, 6, 7 laps ago, Weddle was off at the bottom of Duffy's Dip. He'd been harpooned by Robert McGregor, and now he's all over the back of our leader coming in towards Yip. And so it's roles reversed. Let's see how Fraser Williamson puts up with the pressure from Weddle. Will Weddle use his real-world experience to try and make one of these manoeuvres that I've been talking about all night that Fraser hasn't actually done? Let's see, up the main straight. We're on board with Mikey just now. Flymo tucked right underneath the boot lid off that Jetta. He's got a good run, but he's going the long way round in towards Duffy's Dip, and sometimes that's never the best thing for your health as they go over the crest of Duffy's Dip. He tries to gather momentum and speed through Leslie's, but not quick enough in towards the turning point of McIntyre's is Fraser Williamson, so there's no room at the inn for Weddle there. Remember, your Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day, brought to you by Reese Motorsport, and we will reveal that at the end of this race. But these two guys just now giving us some fantastic flavour in the Winter Series through Clark's Corner, both a little bit wider, but Weddle with more momentum. Here he comes. He's catching as they go through his slopes, heading towards the hairpin. There's a car in front. Weddle puts the car on the inside, late braking, heads towards the apex. He's going to run too hot into the corner. And back comes Fraser Williamson. So, well, Andy Alston, there's one attempt. Not the greatest attempt, I'm going to say that, but that is one attempt.
You could almost hear you could sense the brakes in that Jetta screaming in pain there as Weddle went wide there. It was full credit for bravery, but unfortunately not able to make it stick. So Fraser Williamson takes a 0.5 of a second gap with him into McIntyre. Tom Jones serving a penalty there. I suspect it looks like he's just
I would think so.
An outright drive through. Williamson still leading the way.
I'm amazed he didn't hit the pace car.
David Bolton, I have to give a shout out to. Started in 14th, up into 4th place. So David Bolton, a tremendous drive here in the number 4 car, and I suspect he'll have his eyes set on a podium here as well.
A bit off the radar there and well picked up, Andy Alston. Yeah, what a drive for David Bolton. And what about John Higgins Jr.? Up 22 positions for that car, the lurid green at number 5. His dad used to race a legend that was Stars and Stripes colour, and he also raced a green version of that Stars and Stripes colour as well. Gave me one of his race suits once when I was a little bit short of one, because junior and senior are quite short anyway. But let's leave that alone. We'll go back to the race leaders, Williamson and Weddle over the crest of Duffus Dip. Williamson looks pretty good here. Yeah, you're right. Tom Jones did get a drive-through penalty for the contact that he had with Peter Mackay and with Ronald Grossman. Bit of a slap on the wrist for Tom Jones, and he will come back stronger at the next event, one would imagine. Look at Junior catching Grossman in towards McIntyre's. You know, we haven't, Andy, seen anybody make that overtaking manoeuvre that we've talked about so many times into McIntyre's tonight. We haven't seen that yet.
No, we haven't seen it in the Jetta, but I wonder if we will see it in the coming weeks, because we've got the Mazda MX-5 next week, and then in the beginning of the new year we've got the Skippies, the Skip Barber Formula 2000s, and then of course the Legends for the finale. So completely different cars that will lend themselves, and of course absolutely that as well, and they'll lend themselves to a completely different style of driving. The Jetta is what we're seeing. The drivers have just been a little bit more cautious going into the corners, and yeah, that's why we're still seeing Williamson take the lead in this race, and I suspect just hold on to it through this part of the track. 0.3 of a second is the gap at the front.
Oh, I don't know what to say about that. That's not 0.3 of a second there, is it? That's just three somethings and it's three very little things as they go through the chicane. Weddle a little bit lady going through the chicane there. These cars remind me of, if I'm not mistaken, there used to be a Vauxhall One Make Championship. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but they're, I don't know, that'll come to me later on, but they look very, very similar. The way they kind of bounced through the corners. As Williamson, he did have a 0.3 of a second lead starting that lap. It was definitely down to nothing at McIntyre's, but it's now back up to an alleged half second as we come on to Andy Alston, our last lap of the race. This is what it's all about, and Weddle has a big ask here. 0.5 or 0.3 of a second is the lead. He's not close enough for a manoeuvre. He'll catch him all the way through Duffus and through McIntyre's, but he just isn't close enough to make this manoeuvre stick here. He's trying to catch him as he comes through. Don't hit that sausage curb. You hit the sausage curb. You're on wide. Weddle goes wide. He's going wide. He's cost himself. And that ultimately could almost hand the position as Higgins goes through the pit lane with somebody else. Car 47 as well. That's James Warrior. But look at the lead that Williamson has as he comes through Clark Corner for the last time of asking tonight here on the Winter Cup with the SMRC eSports in towards the hairpin. It's been 2 victories for Michael Weddle and 1 for Fraser Williamson. Williamson is about to get his first victory off the Winter Series at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Clockwise direction, the Movano Sims racer accelerates up towards the checker flag and he takes it from Michael Weddle, but Weddle will be delighted with his comeback drive to go from gravel trap to second place and almost win. That has been a great event for him. Danny Cassar comes home in 3rd place ahead of David Bolton, Ronald Grossman, Gaz Brown and Mark Hearn extremely close as they leave the hairpin now up towards the line. It's going to be Gaz Brown who holds it off from a very damaged and pit lane bound Mark Hearn. For James Warrior, Scott Smith comes home in 9th place and Sean Doby, yes sir, I can boogie, comes home in 10th place. Everybody else will filter through after that one. And, well, Andy, there was a little bit more contact in that race, a little bit more damage. Michael Johnson was one of the guys who, if I'm not mistaken, we saw in a 3-car incident leaving Clark Corner. He'll go home and finish in 14th place.
Yeah, and if you look at the order of the front two, it doesn't quite tell the full story of that race. Pure drama throughout, lap after lap. There was something happening. Michael Weddle, I think you called it, you'll be delighted, I suspect, to take that second place finish after what happened earlier on. He perhaps had a chance to win, of course, just ran wider at the exit of McIntyre's, which really just cost any chance of a last lap move. But 2 wins and a second place for Michael Weddle. I think he'll be more than happy with that.
Williamson is your winner from Weddle, and Cassar in 3rd place stands on the podium and sprays that virtual bottle of invisible champagne. David Bolton in 4th with Ronald Grossman, Gaz Brown, James Warrior, Scott Smith, Sean Doby and Tom Jones, who had a bit of an interesting race here. Contact with Mackay, contact with Grossman, drive-through penalty. Yeah, Tom Jones, one to forget, but still 10th place for him. Cameron Ritchie and Cameron Bryden, son of Paul Bryden, who's a very fast racer in the SMRC and KMSC Mod Sports. Paul Bryden, he'll be happy with his son coming home in 12th place there. But what we want to do now is get some drivers into our virtual waiting room, Andy, and if they come into that virtual waiting room, we will have a bit of a chat with them. We've discussed driver of the day, and I've completely forgot everything we discussed, Andy, but that's kind of par for the course, isn't it?
Well, there was a couple of drivers we had our eye on, but
Who
it
didn't
kind of
finish.
all didn't go to plan in the finale. So yeah, so yes, it's I think there's a couple of drivers who did very well throughout. David Bolton we gave a mention to for P4, but yeah, I think Duncan, I'll let you do the honours for the driver of the day here tonight, and we'll catch up with them because I know they're already in our waiting room and keen to have a chat with us.
Thank you very much. Right, let's drag in Edie Meeny Miny Mo. Let's drag in Peter Mackay first of all. Let's get the racing commentator in, and we'll find out exactly what Peter Mackay's thoughts are for that race. Starting on pole position, it was pretty sensational for Peter. So in he comes to our virtual commentary box. Welcome, Peter Mackay, to the Sim Broadcast live stream partner for your sim racing event. This is our virtual commentary booth. How are you?
The man's an animal.
Tom Jones.
No, Ronald Grossman. The man's an animal. He might be able to do that when he's a superstar in Germany, but he can't get away with that here. Well, apparently he can.
He did. Peter, he did. Peter, that was a fabulous run through the second race for you, mate. It really was pretty sensational. And to have you finishing in 8th place and then starting on pole and leading and holding your own for 3 or 4 laps until, unfortunately, there was an incident reminiscent of the late, great Colin McRae and Matt Neal.
Matt Neal?
Talk us through what happened, Pete.
Yeah, obviously I don't have the pace of the leading guys. I was really surprised to get pole, actually. I didn't realise that's what was for 8th position. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. And then obviously don't have the pace, so I thought, well, I'm just going to have to defend as best I can. And of course, round Knockhill, you kind of do that. But I think poor Ronald probably got a bit bored of that. And the problem with iRacing is if you get hit from behind, it gives you 4 incident points, and you only get 16 for the race. And Ronald gave me all of those all on his own. So I had to take a drive through as well. So it kind of went to bits after that.
There was, we were convinced it was Tom Jones that had a little shot at the back of you coming at the hairpin, actually. And you're thinking it was Ronald?
Yeah, mate, it could have been both.
Yeah,
but,
well,
I think it was Ronald. Yeah,
you've obviously got
the front row.
You've obviously got a nice back end that they want to have a shot of Pete. But listen, thank you very much. You've been great to watch. We look forward to. You can't make the next one. Am I correct in saying that?
No, back for Skip Barbers is the next one for me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, so I'll miss the Madness. Unfortunately.
Pete, go and watch the stream back. Thank you very much for coming to the commentary box. We'll catch up with you later on. We're going to get Michael Weddle in there.
Cheers, pal.
Hang around. Cheers. Thank you very much. Peter Mackay exits the virtual commentary box there and giving us the John Cleland quote of the man's an animal. Did like that. So we'll get Michael Weddle in now, Andy, and we have had a little discussion. We're going to give Michael Weddle our Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. Easy for me to say. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've had to give it Mikey. But what a drive, mate. What a comeback drive there. What happened at Duffus Dip with Robert McGregor? Did he just lose on his own, or was there contact with Fraser?
No, I think we were just discussing it. I think there was quite a lot of netcode going on tonight. So I think I just kind of backed out of it trying to survive all because I know 3 into 1 is never going to work. And I think me and Robert had a tiny bit in netcode, which didn't help the matters. And then Robert was sideways and I seen it coming. I was like, oh, this is going to hurt. Managed to get away with it and managed to get through the carnage.
You've been there before in real life, though, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I've been in the middle of it. To be fair, I'm usually the one that makes it 3 wide. So, yeah, kind of know just in this, you just have to survive.
And what a comeback drive he then gave us. It was, we kind of picked you up halfway through the race. Oh, look, he's in the back of that 6-car field. And then all of a sudden a bomb went off and Andy Alston screams, Weddle's in second. It must have given you a huge smile on your face.
Oh, it totally did. I thought, oh, here we go. Game on Fraser this time. Let's see how he handles the pressure for a change. And then I'm the one who bottled it on the last lap by hitting the curb at McIntyre. So, no, but yeah, good day. Quite happy with that.
Tell us about your sponsor. You've picked up a sponsor which is very close to your own heart, I see.
Well, I feel like I had to represent them. I cut the grass quite a lot in Knockhill in real life. So you thought, you know what? I'm going to give them a proper good shout out this time. So shout out to Flymo. If you need any grass cutting, that's who you get.
If I'm not mistaken, you've actually turfed your lawn at your house and given yourself a gravel driveway with the amount of stuff you've taken home from Knockhill. Was that true?
It is, actually, yeah. I mean, it's just at the exit of the chicane. That's just outside of my garden at the minute.
Brilliant. Listen, congratulations. You're the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. That comeback drive and the 2 victories were We're pretty sensational, mate. We'll look forward to seeing you in a week for Reverse
Yep.
Direction.
Yeah, looking forward to it. MX5 should be good fun in reverse.
Nice one, Mikey. Take care, pal. We'll let you go just now.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, Andy Alston. I'm gonna bring in Fraser, and you are gonna do Fraser because Fraser was sensational tonight. He really put on a great show for us. So, Andy, on you go.
It certainly was. Fraser Williamson joins us now. Fraser, it was a pair of second place finishes and then the top step of the podium in the finale. Just talk us through that one. You must be pretty exhausted after that one. It was just a combination of attacking and defending, non-stop racing throughout. But you must be pleased with how things have gone overall.
Yeah, considering it's against Mikey, who obviously knows this place slightly more than the average driver in the grid. It was good to be able to race against him, make sure that I'm not completely horrific around here. But it was a lot more intense than I was expecting. That race 2 and race 1 was just full pushing as hard as we could every lap, and mistakes were made, but it was kept nice and clean, and race 3 was as eventful as expected.
And of course, Fraser, you were our winner in the SMRC eSports overall championship for 2021, and you'll be going from virtual to reality next year. So have you been putting in plenty of laps around Knockhill just in preparation for making the switch into the C1s?
Yeah, I've been doing plenty of laps over the past week, mainly just out of pure enjoyment, not even thinking about preparation, just because it's such good fun to lap, and obviously it's been something that I've been after for a while. But yeah, it's going to be a hard transition to go from this to reality.
And just tell us about, because we're coming towards the end of this year, but of course you're very active in the sim racing community as well. Have you got any other championships or anything else you're working towards at the moment?
Well, just now it's just the Sports Car Open with the LMP2. It runs IMSA style LMP2 GT3, so we've got that, and then whatever comes next year, probably just the special events like normal, and keep things ticking over really until something interesting appears.
Good stuff. Well, great drive tonight once more, Fraser, and we look forward to seeing you out there on track next week.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Fraser. We'll catch up with you later on. Okay, can we get plastic steering wheel, deck chair, and coffee table man in now? That will be Scott Smith, who I spoke to today at Knockhill. He said, Duncan, I've got the pace for the top 3. And Scott, you did have the pace for the top 3, but what happened in race 3 at Clark's?
I think there's a little bit of netcode there, Dunk. Me and myself and Robert just had a little come together. I think he just went for a move up the inside of me, and he just tapped the rear of my bumper and sent me into the tyre wall into Clark's.
And okay, we need to talk about sim rigs as well, because I was saying, what have you got? Have you got, big Fanatec steering wheel, multi screens? You're like, no, plastic steering wheel, pedals, deck chair, and a coffee table, and you, you've said I've definitely got the cheapest sim rig of all out there, but it works for you. Am I right?
Pretty much spot on. I'm pretty sure I've told most of the guys on here that I'm racing them on a pallet that I found at the back of Knockhill. And, I cut it up. I've bolted a bucket seat to it. I've bolted my G27 steering wheel and pedals, and that's what I'm racing them on.
Well, Scotty, it works for you. Next week, we go reverse direction. How much experience have you got going around Knockhill Reverse?
Just a wee bit, mate. Obviously, for my bike racing, I've done a few rounds that were reverse. I like reverse, but on the bike, you've got a hell of a lot wider track to play with, mate.
I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. You've done enough laps in a car, and I'll give you some advice for a small fee. I'll never see you stuck. You know that.
I know you look after me, mate.
Scott, thanks very much, mate. We'll catch up later on. Andy, Tom Jones will definitely be worth the chat, because he had an exciting couple of races, definitely the last race as well.
He certainly did. Let's get Tom Jones into the commentary box just now and catch up with him. And Tom Jones is now. Tom, a rather eventful event for you overall. Just talk us through that one and the last race in particular.
Well, it was. The last race was very disappointing. I'm quite frustrated with myself because I was sat there behind Ronald and we were talking. I was saying, I'm not going to go and move. Let's just keep going. And then I was just sat there hoping they'd come together. And I don't know why, but I saw him go a bit deep, and I thought, perfect opportunity to dive up the inside here. Totally forgetting that he also has to turn for the corner, and so of course when he turned in, we came together, and I locked it, and then yeah, these cars are very susceptible to picking up 4Xs from just sort of rubbing the door. So after a few of them coming into trying to gain back onto the back of the guys ahead, took the chicane a bit optimistically, ended up on the gravel and got the drive through from that. So it just went from bad to worse that race. I started off really well. I was looking really optimistic into it, and it ended up very disappointing.
Tom, give us your thoughts on this Jetta car, because it certainly splits opinion in the iRacing community. But what's your thoughts on it? How's it behind the wheel for you?
I love it. I actually love it. I think it's really good fun. Last year, I had a string using this car at Okayama, and I think at the point, I don't know if it's still there now, but I think I was number 7 in the world round Okayama in this thing. So I was quite looking forward to tonight, and I just made a few mistakes. So it was a bit disappointing for me.
See, I'm the same, Tom. I think the Jetta's a great car. I really enjoy driving it. I think it really lends itself to good action as well. But what's your thoughts? Just finally looking ahead to next week in the MX-5s. It's a car that, of course, it's another free car in iRacing. Lots of drivers will have had plenty of seat time behind it. How will you be approaching this one?
From my armchair watching it on TV, it's the one round this championship I'm not available for. So, and I say that I'll actually be driving from the south of England to north of England for Christmas. So I'll be missing that one.
Oh, that's a shame. But Tom, thank you very much. Great driving from you out there tonight, and look forward to seeing you in the Skippies in the new year.
It's just we're gonna go with a great story here. I did a spec car race here the other week, and I was fantastic at defending, and I took up so much of the room. They said the road. They said you've got a big ass, so I got the sponsor. You know, that's definitely how it happened. And you guys, thank you very much.
So slight technical issue there, and let's see if we can get Robert McGregor back in, because we do want to hear from Robert McGregor, a man who... sorry about that slight technical issue, Robert. How are you? What a race event you had there. You got to tell us, though, Robert, the Mad Squad chat has been going crazy for you. The guys are delighted at how you performed tonight, but what happened at Duffy's Dip? Was it a little bit of net code, or was it contact?
From my perspective, there was no contact, no. It was more net code than anything. I spoke to Michael about it, and he agrees. I mean, there's nothing like iRacing we can really do about it. You know, it's just an iRacing issue. It's been going on and on for a while, so it's one of them things.
Yeah, but what a run you had there. You know, in the top 3 in the first couple of races. Is it a circuit that you... I mean, you know Knockhill well, but it's not a circuit you can have actually driven because it's brand new to iRacing.
So... yeah, I've not really driven Knockhill. I've done a lot of track days. Well, I say I've not driven it. I've done a lot of track days with my dad. He takes me up sometimes when I'm lucky, and his Mazdas. So we've done a bit of track days, you know. And I've been not around Knockhill for most of my life. I think first time I went to Knockhill was when I was about 3 or 4. So I know the track well enough. I've walked it many times, so I should understand where to go and what to do.
You did do 100 laps yesterday, though. You did say in the chat earlier on, so there's obviously been a little bit, a little bit of testing getting on there. What's your thoughts on reverse direction? You looking forward to next week?
I think it'll be different. I know they run it in real life. My dad's done it in real life. He says it's a different track almost. For me, I'm just looking to continue the run that I've had from tonight, regardless of the last race. We'll put that one past. But I think, yeah, it'll be different, going back up Duffy Stiff, it's quite a different thing from going down it. So, we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it. And it's in the Mazdas, so I can't complain, but we'll see what happens.
Robert, congratulations on a good first Winter Series race there with SMRC eSports. We'll see you next week, so we'll let you head back just now. No doubt most of these guys actually leave us and then they go and start doing some more laps of the circuit. But
I'm going to bed.
Okay.
Too
much information, mate.
Anymore, but take care, guys. Thank you for
listening. Thanks, mate. Bye-bye. So Robert McGregor heads off for MSR Racing, and well, that brings the evening to an end for us here. We do hope you've enjoyed it. Sorry about that small glitch we had just halfway through, or just towards the end there, actually. But from myself, Duncan, Vincent, and Andy Alston, we look forward to seeing you guys next week, the 22nd, Wednesday the 22nd. It's anti-clockwise around Knockhill Racing Circuit. If you like the clockwise direction, why not come and join us for the Global Mazda MX-5s in reverse direction anti-clockwise configurations. 8 o'clock, the normal time. From me, Andy, from Mo back at base, and from Pete back at base, we thank you guys very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, take care.